My fiancé went on a trip with his first love. He said he'd get engaged to me once he said goodbye to his past. They intertwined their fingers and embraced passionately. A month later, he returned, saw the pregnancy test results, and asked me, overjoyed, "Grace, are you pregnant?" I just looked at him calmly and replied, "I was once." "Daniel, where are you? I have some great news for you." The moment I found out I was pregnant, I eagerly called Daniel, who was working late. But then, a familiar, low voice came from the next hospital room. "I'm busy right now. I'll call you back later." I followed the sound. Looking through the window, Daisy was holding Daniel's hand, her face full of curiosity. "Daniel, who was that just now?" Daniel's body stiffened slightly. He stirred his spoon, giving a dismissive reply, "Just a client. Hurry and drink your porridge. It's getting cold." Daisy scrunched up her nose. "I'm sick of eating porridge every day. I want your homemade date pastry." "Daniel." Daniel helplessly stroked her head. "Then you need to get better quickly, and I'll make it for you every day." My fiancé, who was supposed to be working late, just told another woman I was merely a client. What was even more ridiculous was that I had cooked for Daniel for 5 years, yet I had never eaten anything he made with his own hands. They reminisced about the past, with endless things to talk about, and I, like a rat secretly spying on someone else's happiness, I leaned on the doorframe, my ears ringing, barely able to stand. The door just opened, our eyes met, and I saw a clear flicker of panic in his eyes, which then turned into a hint of anger. "Grace, what are you doing here? Are you following me?" His eyes, which used to hold only gentle smiles when he looked at me, were now filled with chilling coldness. No one would be indifferent at a time like this, and neither was I. "Daniel, is this your working late?" I stared at his familiar face, expecting guilt to appear there the next second, but there was none. Daniel's expression shifted from panic to gloom. "Do I have to report my every move to you, miss?" I was somewhat stunned. "What did you just call me?" "Grace, don't be angry. I'm sick, and Daniel was worried and came to take care of me. We didn't do anything." "Daniel, you should be gentle with other girls too. Don't get so angry." Before could speak, Daisy interjected, her tone a mix of petulance and complaint. It was like she was scolding a pet dog for being impolite to guests. And the man with such a strong will actually suppressed his anger and turned his head, though his tone remained cold. "Not all girls are as understanding as you, Daisy. Our relationship is purely platonic, but some young ladies might still be caught up in their own self-directed drama of catching someone red-handed." "Daniel," Daisy protested, and Daniel waved a hand dismissively, indicating he wouldn't say more. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but crack a small smile. Look, I was the one who felt like an outsider. Daisy walked towards me. "Grace, please don't misunderstand." I dodged her hand, reaching for mine. "My boyfriend's matters don't require your explanation. Just a slight sidestep." And she stumbled backward as if pushed, hitting the table, whether intentional or not. The food container tipped over. "Grace!" Almost instinctively, Daniel pushed me away and caught Daisy. I staggered backward, grabbing the doorframe in a panic, one hand protecting my belly. I looked up into a pair of unfamiliar eyes. Daniel's eyes were filled with fury. "Daisy is still a patient. How could you be so heartless towards her?" "How could I be heartless towards her? By playing along with her tragic act?" Every day, I would cool the porridge to the right temperature before putting it into the food container. That temperature, I knew, and Daisy knew. Only, who carried it away daily, didn't know. More and more people gathered, pointing and whispering about Daisy and me. Daniel's expression changed, his gaze at me now only cold. "Get out! I need to wipe Daisy down." I stared at him. "Daniel, I'm your fiancé. The engagement party is next month. You're not yet." Daniel cut me off coldly. He was utterly indifferent to his words, as if casting me into a sea of ice. "Daisy might get scalded. I don't want to hold you accountable for anything right now, but don't stop me from making up for your mistake." "What are you saying? If you don't make things clear to me today, there won't be an engagement party for us anymore." I couldn't believe it, pushing him frantically. His once tender heart for me seemed to have turned into a high wall. Daniel just looked at me calmly. "Grace, Daisy and I are just friends. Don't be unreasonable. Go home first. I'll explain everything to you later." The door slammed shut with a bang, separating Daniel and me. It was like separating two worlds. Daisy and Daniel were childhood sweethearts, growing up together from elementary school through college. It wasn't until their senior year, when Daniel's family business failed, that Daisy broke up with him and went abroad. Under the double blow of family and love, Daniel almost collapsed, spending his days drowning his sorrows in alcohol. I met Daniel around that time, perhaps drawn in by his melancholic aura. I developed a strong interest in him, but I wouldn't be brazen enough to pester him. Love should be mutual, not a compromise. Otherwise, one wouldn't be able to tell if he was with you out of love or pity. He needed money, so I introduced him to opportunities. If he had the ability, he could take them. If not, I wouldn't bother with a lost cause. Fortunately, his spirit hadn't been completely broken. My family background was good. I was beautiful, and my capabilities were outstanding. Naturally, his gaze was drawn to my brilliance. It was very much like a novel, a rich heiress saving a struggling young man. Daniel confessed his feelings to me. That day, the sunset was exceptionally beautiful, making his ears flush crimson. He said that because of me, he seemed to have regained his fighting spirit. Indeed, he became more ambitious, cheerful, and driven. Later, I was noticed by a famous director and cast as a supporting actress in a drama. It received a good response and gained some popularity. Daniel worked even harder, vowing to rebuild his family's business. But no matter how busy he was, he would always come to the set to pick me up after work, acting as my chauffeur. He said he wanted to work hard to be worthy of me. I felt even more certain that I hadn't made the wrong choice. I even willingly gave up opportunities for advancement, politely declining offers from various directors. I accompanied him to business meetings, helped him secure resources, and was content to be the woman behind his success. I could live very well without all of this, but only had me. After 5 years of this, my parents finally gave their consent. His company began to stabilize, and Daniel proposed to me. One could say I appeared at the lowest point of his life and accompanied him step by step towards the light. We were supposed to have a happy future, but Daisy returned, and I instantly transformed from his fiancé into a client. Indeed, pitying a man is the beginning of misfortune. The city lights would stay on all night, but they couldn't penetrate the deep solitude. The next day, I placed the pregnancy report on the bedside table. Perhaps I still clung to a sliver of hope, fantasizing that Daniel would rush to me, see the report, and tell me he was wrong. With a humiliating expectation, I left the home we had shared for 5 years, taking all my luggage. I sent him a text, "Let's cancel the engagement party." There was no reply, but made his first non-work-related social media post. The photo was of his elementary school gate. The caption read, "Taking you to see the past." It was clear Daniel hadn't gone alone. Daniel, true to his reserved nature, never showed public displays of affection. Seeing the notoriously reserved finally showing affection, many friends gathered to comment. I thought Daniel's first social media post would be about his engagement party. Happy again, my friend. I was wondering why Daniel was on a business trip. Turns out he took his significant other to revisit the past. Only his significant other could make Mr. Daniel romantic. My fingers kept scrolling, and each teasing remark and well-wish should have brought a smile to my lips. But now, they were like a boning knife plunged into my heart, grinding my flesh and blood, and the one wielding it was the silent Daniel. At the same time, another post appeared on social media, a photo of intertwined fingers, with the same school gate in the background. There was no caption, but I knew the new person who added me was Daisy. My face was expressionless. I just kept zooming in on the photo with my fingers, as if trying to find some evidence to prove that the hand's owner wasn't Daniel. Suddenly, my finger paused, and the scar on that ring finger caught my eye. I hadn't known how to cook at first. My affluent life meant I only thought about what to eat, never how to make it. But that changed after I got together with Daniel. He said our home needed a lived-in feel. I swore I'd make sure he'd feast to his heart's content. As expected, the first meal was born out of my frantic efforts. I botched it, and a broken piece of porcelain caused a deep red cut. Daniel held me, constantly assuring me it was fine, but a long scar remained on his ring finger. I had held his hand countless times, telling him about the same issue over and over, and he would always smile and respond, as compensation for the injury, "What do you want?" Then a ring, to forever cover this scar for me. Okay, we were so close to fulfilling that promise. So why was that hand now held by another woman? It felt like a stone was lodged in my throat, making it hard to breathe. I covered my mouth, trying to swallow it down, but it welled up from my eyes. Silent, quiet, flowing freely. It was strange. I didn't dwell on the photos. Instead, I remembered the distant past. He clearly knew how to cook, yet he stood by idly the entire time. Was he watching me make a fool of myself? Or was he enjoying the thrill of taming me? Intense grief can cause dry heaving, but I felt truly disgusted from the bottom of my heart. Daniel and I were completely over. Daniel and Daisy's trip continued, though Daniel stopped posting updates, but I still knew they visited their elementary school, their high school, his childhood home, and even a pet store. They picked out a cute little ragdoll cat named Sweetie. That evening, Daisy's social media profile was updated with a set of photos. A small cat lay in the sunlight, with the faint reflection of a couple embracing in the floor-to-ceiling window. The caption read, "The promise from our childhood. You really did remember." Though neither of their faces was visible, their figures and clothes made them look very well-matched. Coupled with the nostalgic and emotional caption, it gave the impression of a reunion after many years apart. The image of soulmates, lost and found again, leaped from the screen, quickly attracting a large number of fans. "Ah, the kitty is so cute. Am I the only one who noticed the perfect height difference in the window reflection? I'm shipping them." So many celebrity couples nowadays, but this pair is truly pleasing to the eye. Following them, when we moved into our new house, I wanted to get a pet, but Daniel disagreed. Cats and dogs shed. He didn't like them, and they were hard to clean. He had a whole list of reasons. He even brought up how it would be bad for future children. Wow. It turns out he was just upholding some past vow of abstinence. For a month, Daniel hadn't contacted me. Perhaps he was waiting for me to apologize first, then beg to return to him. Over the past few years, my love truly had spoiled him. Amidst repeated mess. "Grace, please take care." I left the private beauty salon. After nearly 5 years as a housewife, I hadn't gained weight, but I was a bit gaunt. Even so, a month of recovery still surprised even myself. Turns out, this old gal was quite stunning back then. Ignoring the men circling like sharks, I sped towards Daniel's company in my roaring sports car. Never actively pursue men. Never choose men who actively pursue you. After signing the equity transfer agreement, it was time to unwind. Should I ask Chloe to call a few more younger guys? She always had a lot of connections, though I couldn't use them. At least they'd be nice to look at. My mind wandered, but my hands moved quickly. Over the past month, nearly 30% of my shares in the company had been transferred out piecemeal. For such a promising company, there were certainly many eager investors, but those with real power and connections knew what this meant. The Chi family was exiting. Everyone understood that this was a signal for proxies to be cleaned out. How much profit they could snatch up before the Chi family made its next move depended on their own abilities. This naturally alarmed William, but after I explained the situation, he only said 2 things: "I'll handle the company matters. Come back to visit when you're free. Eleanor misses you." Those 2 sentences made my eyes well up again. After I've had my eye candy, I'll go home to see Mom. As I left, I saw Daniel and Daisy walking side by side. Perhaps it had been too long since he'd seen me looking this beautiful, because Daniel didn't recognize me at first glance. Instead, Daisy's eyes were guarded, her hand clutching Daniel's sleeve so tightly her knuckles were white. Daniel noticed something amiss, and when he looked at me again, a flash of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Grace?" He instinctively pulled away from Daisy and hurried forward, but then frowned slightly. "Why are you dressed like that for work?" See, that displeasure of his private property being exposed to public view. Before, I might have been happy about that possessiveness, wouldn't I? But now I took a step back. "Mr. Daniel, I'm not your employee. What I wear is none of your business." Daniel's outstretched hand froze in midair. "Grace, are you still mad at me? Daisy is getting married soon and might not even return to the country. She just came back to see an old friend this time. What does that have to do with me? Is Daniel explaining himself to me?" The surrounding employees cast frequent glances our way, and Daniel's face became somewhat unnatural. "Grace, don't overthink things. You're not a child anymore. Why are you getting jealous over such things?" I couldn't take it anymore. I swatted his hand away. "Hey, Daniel, have you completely lost touch with reality? We broke up a month ago. You just didn't reply to me because you were busy on your honeymoon with Miss Daisy." Daisy, as if a raw nerve had been touched, pointed at me and yelled, "What honeymoon? Grace, don't spread rumors. I'll sue you for defamation." "Shut up, Daniel." For the first time ever, snapped at Daisy. He looked at me, a flicker of panic in his eyes. I didn't agree. And I came back now specifically to discuss the engagement. The invitations have already been sent. How can we cancel now and face the company's clients? How can we face William and Eleanor? People laugh when they're speechless. His first thought was actually how to explain it to his clients. Do I need your permission to break up? You go off with another woman for a month, then come back and talk about engagement? Daniel, you're truly despicable. The man before me swayed, his face pale. He grabbed my hand, whispering, Grace, let's talk about these things at home. I shook off his filthy hand and walked away. I am going home, but it has nothing to do with you. Daniel let out a long sigh of relief, as if my agreeing to go home meant half the problem was solved. He turned back to Daisy, comforting her softly. When saw me, she looked like a seasoned lecher spotting a lamb. She poked and prodded, then chuckled. Love really does wonders for you. After one trip out, look how soft your skin is. Give me a kiss. Sis, I swatted away her mischievous hand, pouting. Don't be silly. This air of nobility doesn't come from love. This old gal cultivates it herself. Chloe's eyes lit up, as if she'd heard an incredible piece of gossip. Oh, from the sound of it. Did that old stick in the mud in your family finally bloom? Not only did he bloom, he attracted butterflies too. I picked up a wine glass, thought for a moment, then put it down. I touched my lower abdomen, ignoring Chloe's frantic calls to gather people. It would be a lie to say I wasn't at a loss. Encountering this situation for the first time, I should go back and ask William and Eleanor. I shook my head, coming back to my senses to find myself surrounded by muscular men. Chloe was truly a good friend. If I needed people, she'd rally them. Our spot was the liveliest in the entire beachfront park. Muscular types, scholarly types, the description swarms of beauties wouldn't be an exaggeration. 8-packs kept flashing before my eyes. Out of curiosity, I reached out and touched one. Whoa, it really is different. I didn't drink, and they didn't dare to urge me. They were happy to joke around with Chloe, but some just stared at me. A handsome man with an icy expression. Did he think I was immune to good looks and wanted to try a different tactic? Since I was bored anyway, I waved him over. A chat would be nice. What came next was an enraged Daniel. Grace, what are you doing? Daniel stood before me, his eyes looking as if they wanted to devour someone, like a husband catching his wife cheating. Asterisk, why are you always here? Asterisk, I didn't say it aloud. Someone stepped in front of me. Sir, you're scaring my friend. I hadn't been drinking, yet I could hear a certain quality in that voice. It was hard to describe, but I could tell this guy's voice alone would make his business a success. A cold facade with a warm heart, acting heroically. Daniel's gaze shifted, and the two men glared at each other like stags fighting for territory, refusing to back down. Daniel, at 6'1", was actually shorter than the other man, perhaps sensing he couldn't win on presence alone. He turned to me, his face so frosty it could drip water. Grace, I never realized when you were home, but you really know how to have a good time. The moment I leave, you're eager to come out. Before my anger could be voiced, Daniel took a punch. The two men started fighting. Chloe, I don't know when she ran over, clung to me and shouted encouragement. Daisy came up with a group of people and pulled the two apart. Daniel spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at me with a hint of pity. Grace, don't degrade yourself like this just because you're jealous. I walked over to the stoic man and handed him some tissues. What's your name? He looked at me steadily, speaking slowly, enunciating each word. Ethan. It sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. I patted his shoulder. Well done. Don't worry. I'll handle what comes next. Daisy helped Daniel up, then glanced around, smiling. Ms. Grace seems quite busy. If we hadn't come for dinner tonight, we wouldn't have known Ms. Grace had such an open side. Most of the people around were Daniel's company employees, likely brought to bond after his return. He just didn't expect to introduce Daisy so quickly. I also smiled and said, as a single person, it's perfectly normal for me to go out and have dinner and chat with friends. However, Ms. Daisy, a woman who's about to get married, went away for a month alone with someone else's fiancé. Perhaps you should pay more attention to your personal life. Ex-fiancé. Ethan suddenly interjected from beside me. I shrugged, surprised he knew so much. But he wasn't wrong. The surrounding employees clearly didn't know that Daniel's month-long business trip wasn't with me. A woman suddenly appearing, clinging to the boss, inevitably led to speculation. Particularly this scene, which immediately set people buzzing. Mr. Daniel and manager broke up? I heard they were getting engaged soon. So, this woman ruined it? No wonder she's always following Mr. Daniel. Turns out she's the rotten other woman. The whispers made Daisy's face change repeatedly. She forced a smile and said to me, Ms. Grace might have some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding between us. And no relationship either. My impatience grew, and I pushed through the clamoring crowd. That scumbag and his vile woman were an eyesore. I'd rather enjoy the sea breeze in peace. At some point, Daisy appeared beside me, like a constantly refreshing NPC, annoying and inescapable. She dropped her perpetually fragile white lotus act, now trying to play the part of a pure, unblemished mountain snow lotus. Actually, I didn't mean to steal Daniel from you. He was my childhood crush, but only from my childhood. Now I have my own life. I just came to say goodbye. And then what? I tilted my head, looking at her. You run off with my ex-fiancé for a month, then throw him back at me like trash, saying a few words about how you don't want him anymore. And I'm supposed to happily take him back? He's despicable. But you're truly foolish. Daisy was somewhat annoyed. Daniel and I are just friends. We never crossed the line. You've been together for 5 years and are about to get engaged. Can't you be understanding about these small matters? I wondered if slapping her now would be dangerous. What's crossing the line? Can you explain away anything as friends as long as there's no penetrative sex? Even and Eleanor aren't telling me to be understanding. So who do you think you are? Daisy's face was very unpleasant. Grace, don't be so disgusting when you speak. I reached up and pushed back the hair the sea breeze had tousled. Are your actions any less disgusting? Daisy suddenly smiled, her perpetually pitiful face now subtly arrogant. Grace, you're just jealous that I can make Daniel abandon you with a flick of my finger. I'll always be in the deepest part of his heart. Even if you marry him, you can never replace me. Do you think he was thinking of me when you two were in bed? How could someone be so shameless? I felt a wave of nausea. That day will never come for us. I don't pick up trash. But I'm curious. Does your fiancé? Daisy's face instantly went pale, and she grabbed my hand. What are you trying to do? If you dare to do anything out of line, I'll make you pay. Mindful of the baby in my womb, I didn't dare to get into a struggle, but Daisy yanked me into the sea. Daniel's cry of alarm carried on the sea breeze. Daisy, who had fallen into the water herself, was immediately scooped up. Daniel looked anxious. Daisy, are you okay? Daisy's eyes were red, and she said tearfully, I just wanted to make things clear to Grace. She's angry. It's my fault for coming to see you. Daniel, please don't blame Grace. Daniel's gaze, which never once fell on me, was utterly cold. Grace, there's a limit to jealousy. Daisy just recovered from a stomach ailment and can't get cold. Apologize to her. The seawater was bone-chillingly cold, and my mind cleared completely. I developed a high fever. In a blur, I saw Daniel proposing to me for the first time, and I rejected him. I was proud. I didn't need to tie someone down with benefits. That was sincere and passionate. His ears would flush crimson when he spoke to me. I'd casually mention wanting a small cake, and he'd ride for 20 miles to buy it for me. He would take me to try on clothes again and again, praising my extraordinary beauty. I forgot when things changed, but our lives became only about work. Endless overtime, constant busyness. But I wasn't short on money. I just wanted to be with him, to do what he wanted to do. But it was as if he couldn't take care of me unless he was making money. I wanted him to take time to walk with me, but he said the company couldn't do without him and told me not to throw a tantrum. Material things and emotions became equated. Love was twisted into immaturity in the face of reality. Suddenly, the dream shattered. Daniel cast everything aside and revisited old places with Daisy. It turned out he did have love, just not for me. Watching them walk hand in hand through their youthful years, I screamed for them to get out of my dream. I woke up in a hospital room, with a grimacing Ethan beside me, seeing his red arm. I felt a bit embarrassed. No wonder the sensation of hitting someone in my dream felt so real. I looked at him. Chloe sent you. Thank you for your trouble. Ethan's eyes dimmed slightly. He shook his seawater-soaked jacket and said, You're the one who called me. Ms. Grace. Haven't you recognized me yet? My brain still felt foggy. I didn't react for a moment. I called him? Recently. I had only contacted some relatives and friends, share transferees, and some previous directors. A flash of insight struck me, and I looked up sharply, staring at the handsome face before me. It slowly overlapped with a face from my memory. I gasped. Are you Ethan? That was the first drama I acted in, where I played the protagonist's older sister. The character was endearing. My acting was solid, and my character's death to save the protagonist earned a flood of tears from the audience. I gained quite a few fans from that drama, and when it was rumored I wouldn't be taking on any more acting roles, they were the most regretful. Ethan, before me, was the actor who played the protagonist. My younger brother, Ethan. I heard the investor for that drama was the Sia family, and they intended to promote Mr. Ethan. Later, I gradually faded out of that circle, only hearing that he also stopped acting after that one role. I never expected our next meeting to be under such circumstances. He leaned back in the chair, sunlight streaming softly through the window. It illuminated his amber-like eyes, clear as a pool of water, reflecting me. We weren't far apart, and neither of us spoke. The quiet atmosphere grew somewhat ambiguous, broken by my hesitation. He looked at me, his eyes holding complex emotions. My second sister and director have a new project. They're missing an important female supporting role. You were already in contact with director, so I was tasked with approaching you, but I didn't expect. I forced a smile. You didn't expect to witness this whole mess and get dragged into a fight. Thinking of my behavior back then, I was so embarrassed it made my stomach hurt. I remembered something and looked apologetically at Ethan. When I contacted director, I was looking for less significant roles. After all, I haven't acted in a long time, and for other reasons. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to handle the role you just mentioned. Ethan's gaze shifted, and his eyes held a hint of pity as he looked at me. The filming schedule hasn't been set yet. Ms. Grace can take some time to recover. His eyes gave me a bad feeling. I unconsciously tightened my grip on the bedsheet. Mr. Ethan. My body. He didn't look at me, just lowered his head. Ms. Grace. William and Eleanor are on their way from out of town. Regarding the baby, I hope you can come to terms with it. His lips moved, but I couldn't hear any sound. What matter required William and Eleanor's presence? What woke me was a call from Daniel. I could hear the suppressed anger in his voice. Grace. Was it necessary to tell William and Eleanor everything about us? Do you really need me to humble myself before you'll be satisfied? My mind was a mess, and my eyes stared blankly at Ethan. What did you just say? Ethan was silent. Daniel's voice rose in my ear. Grace. Don't play dumb. Eleanor just gave me a good scolding. She said she would never let you marry me if you tell William and Eleanor about every conflict. How are we supposed to get along in the future? I stared blankly at the ceiling, the sunlight blindingly white. Like my face, something slid from the corner of my eye, dampening the pillow. I said, I hate you. The other end of the phone was silent for a long time, finally ending with a sigh. When will you learn to be more sensible? His path was already laid out. He could continue without me. Ethan didn't speak, just sat with me. After a long while, he softly asked, do you want to get back at them? I didn't look at him. Retribution will be waiting for them, like a devil tempting the world. He said, selling off your shares will cause them trouble. But the Chi family isn't the only one who can provide backing. Daisy's family also has some influence. I cut him off. Just say what you mean. He looked at me, his gaze clear and sharp. The Sia family has some connections. I want to help you. I turned to look at the man, then suddenly smiled. Mr. Ethan, have you forgotten? I'm not some helpless girl stuck in the mud who needs saving. It would be very simple for me to ruin them. Why should I owe you a favor? Ethan's eyes flickered, but he still met my gaze. I want an opportunity to get close to you. You can hire me. I'm cheap. It wouldn't be a favor then. It was a classic pickup line, but I changed my mind. With's involvement. Perhaps that confident man would finally face reality. For the next month, you can introduce yourself as my new boyfriend. After leaving the hospital, I went back home. Eleanor was tidying my clothes, muttering to herself, this big red scarf. I remember you don't like red. You always preferred short skirts. Why did you bring so many long ones? I looked at the old clothes pulled from the bottom of the box, my thoughts drifting. These were among the few small gifts Daniel had ever prepared for me, even if they weren't to my taste. But that thick-headed man thinking of them made me happy. Now that I thought about it, it had been a long time since he'd given me a gift. Old things were covered in dust, and so was our love. Scrolling through my phone, a familiar person appeared. Algorithms are truly amazing. What you're most interested in, yet don't want to see, always appears before your eyes. Like, who popped up? It must have been her main account. There was a lot of content on her profile. I scrolled through it, post by post, and then my finger suddenly stopped. It must have been a winter a few years ago. Daisy was holding hands with a man, lighting fireworks by the sea. She wore a thick white velvet long dress and a red scarf. The man wasn't Daniel. That day, I was with him, running errands for a client. That evening, he suddenly said he wanted to take me to the beach. We stood there in the cold sea breeze. He wrapped a red scarf around me. I was surprised and asked him when he prepared it. He just smiled at me, his smile gentle and lingering. Later, I had a fever for 3 days. Such a beautiful memory. If only I wasn't just a mannequin for his sentimental gestures. I felt a bit irritated. Flies always seem to come buzzing into my peaceful life. Mom, just throw these away. I don't like them. Eleanor paused, as if realizing something. She took a step, twisted her waist, and flung the scarf far away, perfectly landing it in the trash can. What a piece of junk. Even my grandmother would think it's tacky to wear. Troubles never come singly. That night, I received a call from Daniel. His voice on the other end carried deep fatigue and drunkenness. Wife, where are you? I want to talk to you. I hung up the phone and forwarded his address to Daisy. Daniel had tried to find me, but he couldn't get past the estate gates. For a few days, he played the role of a faithful watcher, but then Ethan brought over some guard dogs. Normally lazy, they'd become hyperactive whenever they saw Daniel, drooling profusely. This vigil ended with Daniel going to the hospital. Ethan vowed to send a pit bull next time, promising to cover all medical expenses. The next day, Ethan vividly described how Daniel got drunk and collapsed in an alley, and how he was robbed, left with nothing but his underwear. I asked him, "Did you arrange that?" He ignored me. Ever since he met Eleanor, he's been quite confident and outspoken, as if he found a powerful backer. As for why Daisy didn't go pick him up, reportedly she was called back by a phone call from the Song family, leaving with a very displeased expression. Some rumors began to spread. Her fiancé's family had some influence abroad. The family was expanding into the international market, and this marriage alliance was crucial. But coincidentally, that family also had some collaborations with the Chi family. I didn't have time to pay attention to any of this. Preferring to quietly recover for a while, I began to negotiate with director about the new drama. Being busy can help one forget some worries. The cast for the new drama was lavish, including several A-list actors and even a legendary veteran actor. Industry attention was high, indicating the significant investment from the Xia family in this production, and some photos of me on the set were also circulated. Initially, it was just small-scale dissemination. Some old fans recognized me. They were surprised I was acting again and expressed their anticipation. Later, public opinion gradually shifted. Someone photographed Ethan and me eating together, and many of my past stories were gradually dug up. Headlines read, "Lead and supporting suspected of developing on set. Both wealthy master spends to promote lover of the news supporting suddenly." My relationship with Ethan became the new target for gossipmongers, until someone released photos of Ethan and Daniel fighting. The situation became uncontrollable. Someone dug up my relationship with Daniel. Married cheats with wealthy man, Xia suppresses company. All for his the pointed directly at me, and suddenly the internet was filled with malicious speculation. Ethan quietly sought me out, comforting me not to be affected by online comments. Ethan's family would do their best to manage the PR fallout. Of course, I knew who was fueling the fire behind the scenes. At least the data detailing Ethan's family's efforts to undermine Daniel's company was real. And this kind of information wasn't something you could just find by searching online. I opened Daisy's social media profile, but it had all been set to private. A smirk played on my lips. Good thing I had already made backups, precisely to guard against rabid dogs trying to bite. I handed over the evidence I had on Daisy and Daniel to Ethan. Seize this opportunity. The soaring popularity of our new series depends entirely on them. In the following days, insiders first leaked Daniel and Daisy's relationship. They were childhood sweethearts, and it was suspected that someone had interfered, forcing them apart to take their place. And the person suspected of interfering was me. Daniel remained silent, and Daisy published an ambiguous explanation, which only confirmed everything. The torrent of anger needed an outlet, and righteous people wanted to judge the party who had wronged. My private messages instantly flooded, even without looking. I knew there were plenty of people cursing the other woman to hell, but no one knew my whereabouts. Those without the means couldn't find it, and those with the means dared not speak. Still, I strengthened my security measures, just in case someone with ulterior motives truly came. While the internet was ablaze with arguments, I was furiously absorbing forgotten knowledge, leaving early and returning late every day. Working with veterans truly taught me a lot. I poured my heart and soul into acting. From my initial awkwardness, I reached the point where veteran actors I performed with still felt a lingering desire for more after our scenes. Although I was just a supporting character, my excellent emotional expressiveness helped the newcomers on the set get into character more easily, and even perform beyond expectations. The newcomers who made it into the show were all people with strong backgrounds. Building good relationships with them could be said to have broadened my path. Those who manipulate public opinion should be prepared to die by it. This was what I thought of Daisy deep down. To make the fire burn higher, a little more fuel was needed. Daniel and Daisy's travel diary was that fuel. From the other woman who ruined a relationship to a savior in someone's darkest hour. It only takes one night. A business failure leads to a breakup. The girlfriend stays by his side, persevering until the business succeeds, only for him to revisit old places with an ex-girlfriend a month before their engagement. Sets of concrete evidence were released by different people, piecing together the truth people wanted. The tide turned incredibly fast, so fast that Daniel's company, which had just started to recover thanks to public opinion, was once again knocked into the dust. With family and Ethan's family growing closer, and the general situation settled, it was the perfect time to extend goodwill. The newcomers on the set whom I had helped, their families behind them, were merely engaging in normal business competition. Daniel's company collapsed at an incredibly rapid pace. I saw him again one late night. I had just finished work on the set when I saw Daniel waiting at the entrance. He was leaning against a car, with unshaven stubble on his face, looking utterly worn out. When he saw me emerge from the set, his eyes lit up. "Grace, you're off work. I'm here to take you home." I took a step back. 2 black-suited bodyguards blocked my path. Daniel couldn't get close, standing there, looking at me pleadingly. "Grace, I know I was wrong. I was out of my mind. I just thought I was saying goodbye to an old friend. I never imagined it would cause you so much pain. I truly messed up. For the sake of our child, please, just forgive me this once." "Grace, you're pregnant, aren't you? Why didn't you tell me? I was wrong. Hit me, yell at me, but please don't push me away, okay? Our child can't be born without a father." I looked at Daniel, restrained but still trying to push forward, my eyes holding a touch of pity. "Daniel, we were over a long time ago. If you truly knew you were wrong, you wouldn't be standing in front of me now." Daniel's eyes darted nervously as he hastily explained. "Grace, I shouldn't have ignored your feelings, but during my time with Daisy, I realized something. It's you I love, Grace. She was just a regret from my youth, and you're the one I truly love. Please, don't abandon me, okay?" I truly couldn't stand hearing the word love from his mouth. "Daniel, did you ever truly love me?" The man opposite me nodded frantically, looking at me and saying, "Yes, I love you, Grace. Let's start over." I cut him off. "When you gave me the scarf back then, were you looking at me, or at another face beneath the scarf?" Daniel froze, his lips mumbling. I was. I continued. "When walked towards you, you were secretly thrilled, weren't you? Even if she wanted something more to happen between you two, you wouldn't have refused. In fact, some things already did happen, didn't they?" Daniel's face turned ashen, and his body swayed. I looked at the car approaching from the other side, knowing someone was getting impatient. "Daniel, you're coming to find me now, not because you know you were wrong, but because you know you're finished. Ask yourself, what makes you think I'd wait for you?" Daniel's eyes were red-rimmed. He crouched on the ground, unable to look at me, and mumbled, "Grace, you've really changed." I opened the car door without looking back at him. I have no obligation to be the person I was a year ago, a day ago, or even a second ago. I have the right to experience, grow, and change. Oh, and the baby is gone. It happened the day after Daisy pushed me into the sea. I didn't look back at Daniel, who had collapsed onto the ground, clutching the pregnancy test results. His wails grew fainter and fainter as I moved away. The streetlights cast their glow on my face, obscure and unreadable. Ethan, on the other hand, was beaming. I asked him, "Is it because I rejected Daniel?" He said, "No, it's because the old Grace is back." There will always be people who prefer the unchanged you. Later, the drama I acted in became a huge hit. Many people were already paying attention to me due to the previous scandal, and with my outstanding acting skills, I instantly became a sensation. I never saw Daniel again. I only heard that his company collapsed. Someone saw him holding a crumpled piece of paper and returning to his hometown. There was a rumor that he went mad. Whenever he saw paper, he'd call it his son and insist on sending it to his old elementary school for classes. I did see Daisy once. Her travel diary had been discovered by her fiancé. Daisy's family kicked her out of the house, holding a grudge. She somehow got a bottle of acid, screaming that I had ruined her life and threatening to take me down with her. But before she could even get close to me, she was apprehended. I didn't blame her. I just made sure she spent a few years behind bars. Everyone has the right to choose, but also the obligation to take responsibility for those choices. In life, you'll always meet a few wrong people, but once you overcome the hurdle, the sun still shines brightly. And I'm standing in that sunlight now. Ethan asked me what I wanted to do next. The afternoon sun made me feel a little lazy. My mind reluctantly churned and came to a conclusion. I want a cupcake. I'll go get one. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.